So everything that makes me whole, 今君に捧げよう. I'm yours. But for however long this video is, you're mine. You're my captive audience as I get to talk about this. As I get to talk about all 22 episodes of Guilty Crown and the things that are good, the things that are not great but not terrible, and I get to go into the things that are terrible that make the show dog shit. And I wish I was as passionate about it as I'm making it sound. Here's the thing. Clay is currently playing Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And if you watch my JRPG series videos, and thank you very much if you did, you know that's a game I'm very passionate about. I really love XC2, but I will be the first to admit the game has a lot of problems. There's a lot of things about it that don't work, but overall, I think it is a game that's better than the sum of its parts. Clay has said a few times, I think partially facetiously, and then it became legitimate. He's like, I feel like I could write an essay about why Xenoblade Chronicles 2 doesn't work, like solely from a gameplay perspective. And he was saying this as I was getting to the end of watching Guilty Crown, which I was taking notes on, the entire way through. And I was kind of thinking to myself, maybe that's what I should do. Maybe I should just actually sit and write an essay. And maybe I'll just record the whole thing. I want to talk about the things that I think are genuinely good and the things that actually work. I want to talk about these distractions, the things that, again, these aren't problems. They're not terrible, but they take me out of the show whenever I'm watching them. And then we get to the real problems, the creme de la creme primo dog shit that actually ruins the experience. So I get those first two sections done, and I'm about 6 pages deep. Not double-spaced, by the way, 11-point font. I am going into it. And I'm having so much fun. I'm actually feeling that passion. All right, let's go. Let me talk about the things that really work, because I want to address them, and I also kind of want to get them out of the way. I don't want to be I'm trying to be objective here, but, let's get into the distractions. I think they're really interesting to talk about. Yeah. And now let's get to the bad. And when I got to that point in the essay, I stopped. And I felt the way I felt watching the show past episode 15, which to me is the one great episode of Guilty Crown. As much as I talked about how much fun episode 12 is, episode 12 is not good. Again, I think visually and musically it's good, which is basically what I can say about Guilty Crown as a whole. Visually it's fantastic. I think the music is incredible. The writing is what lets it down. Past episode 15, I just didn't care. And it's not that I was actively trying to disengage with it either. The first time I watched Guilty Crown, there was a point, I don't remember when it was, I feel like it was the last 3-4 episodes or so. I was like, I can't take this show seriously. I have to just turn my brain off, because if I try, it's just gonna make me mad. And this time I was still trying to engage and care. I just didn't. That is its biggest flaw. There's things that contribute to that, and it's one thing in particular, which I will talk about. But its biggest sin is that I, as the viewer, did not care for a large portion of the show. And it's not like the first 15 episodes, I'm on the edge of my seat, I'm super invested. It's it's fine. And occasionally there's some moments where I'm like, oh wait, I kind of really liked this scene. One example for sure is it's the end of, I think it's episode 7. It's the one where they're on the party boat. Where the end of the episode is, so they introduce this dude named Dan Eagleman, which is 10 out of 10 name, by the way. It was okay, the ship is housing a bunch of traitors, so we're just going to blow it right the fuck up. And so he shoots this big old missile, and then Shu uses, I know her name, it's Arisa, but this show, not trying to use the pun, but it's so Code Geass coded that half the time I'm just like, oh, you're this character, and I might call them that. So anytime Arisa is on screen, my brain just calls her Millie Ashford. So Shu is using Millie Ashford's void and like deflects the missile and it blows up into fireworks. And then Dan Eagleman goes, all right, well, do it again. And then do, as I believe the like Waltz of the Flowers from the Nutcracker is playing. And it's a really fun scene. Like, wait, no, this is actually awesome. Like, more of this, please. Because that's the thing. Again, the visual set pieces, especially with the music, are so cool. There's a scene, I think it's the end of episode 4, where they're breaking, I don't know what his fucking name is. It's, again, we'll get to the real problem in a bit. But the kid with the gravity gun, and like Inori's breaking in there so she can save Shu, and Shu is surrounded by mechs, and Inori's falling down from the sky, and he uses the gravity gun, and it makes everything like reverses gravity in the field. So the mechs are floating, going like, what the fuck do we do? And Inori's floating down slowly, and Shu's like running up on water that's floating so we can grab Inori, pulls out her sword and starts fucking shit up. It's cool. I believe it's the episode 19 when when Sakai is fighting Isa for the last void genome, and they're like, she's like sliding down an escalator, and there's fire everywhere, and it's all this chaos, and there's this vocal track in the background that's like super intense, and it makes what you're watching feel like it's the coolest, most important shit you've ever seen. It's really not, but it still like looks cool, and it sounds cool. The Everlasting Guilty Crown, which is the second opening, is genuinely, I think, one of the greatest openings I've ever seen to an anime. I think, like, every part of the song kicks ass. The guitar riff, it's great. Like, the piano that comes in, there's something about it, like, it's kind of soothing, but it kind of puts me on edge at, like, almost the same time. I think, like, the violins in there are really good. The vocals are incredible. And even, like, the imagery, I think, is really neat. There's a lot of these moments that just really show the loneliness that is central to the theme of the show. You see it in Inori. She's like walking through these crowds, but no one's paying attention to her. You see it in Shu, and you get this moment where like Shu is about to be like encased in crystal, but it's Inori who's able to like hold him and make him feel better because they need each other. We'll get to that. But it's fantastic, because the music and the visuals in this show are really good. And then you have My Dearest, which is an opening where I think the visuals are fine, but genuinely, and I mean this as like dead ass as possible, aside from the original 4Kids Pokemon opening about being the very best like no one ever was, My Dearest is my favorite opening song to any anime I've ever seen. It is phenomenal. I love listening to it. Here's the problem. Here's why I don't care. The show, in its writing, and especially in its characters, is so underbaked. Remember I was talking about the Gravity Kid a little bit ago? I don't remember his name. I know they say it's like Kenji or something. I probably got that right, because I remember it started with a K. But he doesn't really do anything. There's a whole episode dedicated to busting him out of prison. And there's even this bit where Shu learns this guy's killed a lot of people. Like, he's a serial killer, I think is what they had said. But he's an ally? Like, how do I feel about this? Like, that's kind of interesting. How is it going to be interacting with this dude? Is it like, yeah, I helped bust this dude out of prison, and he's such a piece of shit, I regret it? Or is it, no, like, actually getting to know him, like, yeah, he did really bad things, but there's a good guy in here. Like, I can understand it. We don't really get anything from this dude. It's the next episode or one later. I know there's this one scene where they have to use his voice, and you just gotta go, it's like, oh, go ahead and take it. It is what it is. I'm like, oh, that was kind of a fun little interaction. Surely, we're gonna get more of this dude and see more fun interactions. And then we just, like, don't. or Argo, who, like, when Shu uses his void during his training bout with Ayase, it's a gun, and he fires it, and there's, like, this bright thing of light, and then it creates this big field of darkness. And Argo afterwards is like, that's what I am. I am a light that envelops things in darkness. I don't really know how to feel about that. Which I go, okay, this is interesting. I go, cool. I guess I'm going to probably learn more about you. Maybe see you ruminate on this. Like, can a void change? Because a void is the manifestation of a person's heart. It's about your desires. It's about your fears. It's about what your thoughts are. People can change. But we never see a void change. And if someone, like, ruminates on their void and doesn't like it and, tries to change and be a different person, can it evolve with them? We never really see it. We don't really get much from Argo. But that little bit is more than, what was his name, like, Okumu? I don't remember his name. He's like the big Unga Bunga dude, because I don't think we ever see his void. Or the strategist. I don't remember his name. All I know is he has the same voice actor as Dio, because I'm like, wait, I recognize that voice. I don't remember his name. I don't think we ever saw his void. The one thing I remember about him is he plays this game against Sagai in chess. And they're, like, playing the game, and then a couple episodes later, after a bunch of other shit has happened, the game ends, which kind of made me go, wait, did that actually take, like, several days? What the fuck? Like, this is so stupid. And to be fair, these are more minor characters. Surely, the main cast is more well developed and more well fleshed out, right? Right? Kind of. I'm not really a fan of Shu, but I feel like the show does try. Inori, on the other hand, it tries. Not till, like, the second half, but it tried. It almost kind of got there eventually. Because here's the thing. Guilty Crown at its core is a love story. It is a love story between a fundamentally lonely, broken person and the clone of his sister? I don't like it. First off, like, I just hate that that's the thing. Oh God, I didn't take notes. Like I said, I have an essay. I'm not reading off of anything. This is just all off the dome. This is all out of my void, I suppose. I'm sorry. I have a lot of shit that I want to talk about, and then there's shit like this, or like, I don't really want to talk about the brother-sister. With some of it, like with Inori, it's like an implication, and then with Mana, it's like, it's not an implication, but let me put it like this. At the very least, the vibe that I get when it comes to Shu and Mana is, A, Shu is not interested in his sister, thank goodness. 2, the sister, it's not that the sister is into her brother, it is because she's been, like, possessed and infected by an alien virus. The alien wants her to fuck her brother, not her wanting to do it. It's still weird and I don't like it, but okay. I feel like the show is smart enough to at least play it for horror. Because in those moments, to me, as much as Guilty Crown has a lot of dumb fan service and moments that feel like, yeah, this is just supposed to titillate the audience, I don't feel like Mana and Shu is one of those things. It is meant to be creepy. It is meant to be unsettling. And I will give it that. But then again, it's like, so Inori is, like, she's made to be the vessel for his sister's soul, and they look very similar, and like, he sees her and he starts getting memories of his sister. So, like, I think she is a clone. Like, I don't think they ever use that word specifically, but that's kind of my understanding. And again, with all the other similarities, that feels about right. And this is the person that he loves and really wants to be with. Like, that's icky, and I don't like it. Now, of course, you make the argument that's like, well, aside from the biologics, because she's not a flesh and blood person, even though she is, I don't really want to touch that element of it. She is supposed to still be a different person, her own person. I believe it's the climax of episode 20. Is like she pulls out her own void and starts like kicking ass. It's a visually cool scene. And as it's happening, she's saying like, no, I am not Mana. I am me. She's kind of starting to possess me, and I'm starting to lose myself, but I can't lose myself. I'm my own person. And I don't believe that. Because throughout the show, I don't know who the fuck Inori is. Let me give an example. Inori is a singer. She is first introduced, she's first introduced in a really cool scene, by the way. It's how the show starts. It's of Shu watching a vocal performance of her, like a music video, while she's also like doing some like terrorist shit. I'm like, this is actually a really neat show. Or like, this is like, it's not a neat show. It's a really neat scene and a really neat start to the show. But it's something you get throughout the show. It's just these moments of Inori singing. So it seems very clear music is important to her. Singing is important to her. And she never talks about why. Is it because it's just genuinely something she likes to do? Is it because she has a pretty voice, and so she kind of learns that people like the sound of my voice and I want people to like me, so I do this to kind of gain affection? Does she do it because she's like, I don't have much that I can do, but this is the one unique thing I've got, and I want to do that so I don't feel useless? Is it specifically because of the similarities to Mana? And Mana was a singer. She's not, by the way, but like that could have been something, or it could have been the opposite. This is the thing that I have that she doesn't, and this is what differentiates me. These are all like things that can make Inori feel like a person, but they never go into that. It's just something she does. And then in episode 12, maybe it's technically episode 11. I don't exactly. Yeah, it has to be, because other shit is going on in episode 12. Oh, wow. But I believe it's in episode 11 as the apocalypse virus is going on. And what a boring fucking name, by the way. But as it's going on and people are turning into Crystal, Inori's like, hey, if I sing, it'll reverse it. So just like put me on the ox and I can sing for all of Japan. And it starts working. It's never explained, by the way, before, during, or after, how the fuck this works. What do you mean this alien apocalyptic biblical virus that is gonna wipe out all of humanity is undone by singing? This isn't Symphogear. If this was Symphogear, I would buy this. Like, that would be the kind of shit that makes me go, this is dumb and I love it. Here, without any explanation, it's, no, this is just dumb. What the fuck are we doing? Oh, I'm more passionate about this than I thought. Oh, boy. There's a lot of things like that, by the way, where it's like, hey, here's some plot shit, and we're never going to really explain it. In the halfway point, after, like, the climax, so Guy looks at Shu and is like, hey, here's what I need you to do. I need you to kill me. Like, I'm going to, like, hug your sister, like your actual sister, not Inori. And then, like, when you stab her, you'll stab me too. Do it, Shu. You can do it. And I'm just kind of sitting there thinking, why? Because it's not a situation where the sister's moving. She's encased in like a rock crystal. It's not a Goku Raditz situation where, like, hey, I've got him, do it. If you got to kill me too, it is what it is. It's, no, she's standing completely still. I could take care of this. Like, you don't need to be here for this guy. Now, they kind of get to it a bit more in the final episode where I can't even say they do it again because it's, oh God. Do I have to talk about the final episode? I don't wanna. The final episode is so bad. Oh my God. In the final episode, after Guy is like killed, he gives a thing where my understanding is he's essentially trying to say, I just want to be able to give your sister the rest that she needs. Because like a lot of the shit that has happened to her is not her fault. She is still a young little girl who is scared. And I think what would help is if someone is with her at the end. And with all the shit that I've been through in my life, I kind of don't want to keep going. I will die with her, and both of us can be at peace. I can buy that. And like, I don't want to like talk any shit on that. Like, I think that's fine. The problem is when they try to do that in episode 12, we're not given any context for it. It's just kind of like, hey, Shu, kill me real quick. It's okay. Why? And then, it's like, I guess that's kind of problem number one. Problem number two is, I'm like, wait, I thought they both just died. What the fuck? I guess part of it is like, oh, well, Mana wasn't completely dead because part of her rock crystals had scattered and we collected them and brought her back. And then they don't even kill Mana at the end. They just like kill Guy, and somehow that's what kills Mana, because I guess they have some like kind of tether, some shit. It's, again, not explained at all. Also, she completely took over Inori's body, and then Inori's somehow not dead and becomes a flower, and Shu can pull the void out of the flower because, sure, it's not explained at all. I don't buy it. There's this kid. I think he has a name that they say like once or twice. I just call him the Illuminati kid. So there's this mysterious evil organization called Doth. They've been around forever. They like monitor the human race and blah, blah, blah. And they focus on our evolution and shit. And this kid is like their emissary. So I just call them the Illuminati. Which makes me remember Symphogear when in season 4 and season 5, like you're actually dealing with the Illuminati. And Axis, which is season 4, is fucking amazing. And I have to see the XV. I love season 5 of Symphogear. I love all 5 seasons of Symphogear. Although season 1 is like, it's fine, it's okay, but it gets a lot better. And then like, holy shit, the last 3 episodes of season 1 is incredible. And then season 2 is really good. And oh man, that climax is great. And then season 3 is absolutely fucking peak. I think it has the worst climax. Like, it's still cool, but the rest of the season is my favorite. And then Axis, like from start to finish, is just banger, 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 banger. And then you get XV, where I did not like our what were they called? It was something red. I don't remember. I actually kind of fucking hated them, but our like main antagonist, like our god creature, which I don't remember what their name was so fucking cool. Like, man, I love Symphogear. And then Guilty Crown is just like, oh. Where was I? Sorry, I was thinking about a good show for a bit. Oh, right. The Illuminati. This kid does nothing. It's like he shows up to almost kind of give some backstory and context, but not really. There's this scene in the penultimate episode, like right before he fights Shu, and then loses and doesn't really accomplish much because he's a nothing burger that doesn't do anything in the fucking show. Where he's like, okay, Mana is going to be the Eve of the New World. She chose you to be her Adam, but Guy was also potentially her Adam. So essentially what I want to do is pitch you two against each other to see who's the better Adam. Like, okay. And he's like holding an apple. He's like, Shu, do you want to be Adam? Like, okay, so I guess he's supposed to be the serpent in this, but Okay, what else you got? Like, sure, you can use some biblical metaphors and imagery. That doesn't mean you know what the fuck you're doing. It doesn't mean you've actually constructed an interesting story or made interesting characters. Like, most of the second half of the show feels pointless and superfluous. Like, why are we doing all this in the climax? Like, literally, I thought we killed Guy and Mana. Even if we didn't kill Mana because she scattered, just keep Guy dead. He doesn't really do anything. Like, all of his, like, charm and intelligence just seems gone. He's just kind of there to be the villain. Just make the Illuminati kid the villain. And you can even make him do some shit where he's like, yeah, I want to know who the better Adam was. I think Guy was the better Adam, and then you fucking killed him. That means you're the Atom now, Shu. And, like, I had to do all this shit. Like, okay, I had to, like, fix Mana. I had to get a Nori back here so we could use her. Because that's, you know, our vessel. We needed the vessel for Eve. Then we needed the soul of Eve. And now we need you to be Adam. So let's do this shit. Because this is why it's important. And it doesn't really happen like that. I'm going to talk about one of my favorite things in the show. And yes, I mean that as tongue-in-cheek, ironically as possible. I get to talk about Kill 'Em All Daryl. This motherfucker is introduced, I believe, in the second episode. He is this pretty boy, hotshot pilot working for the main antagonists who has an aversion to touching people. And given that it's a show about disease and quarantine, which, by the way, does kind of make the show hit a bit harder after COVID. Like, it's the idea of a really bad virus happened, fucked up the world, and now the world is basically owned by a giant health conglomerate and people don't trust it. That's a lot more believable after COVID. And again, the idea of people really don't trust this health organization kind of hits a lot harder after the Luigi Mangione thing. Like, that is something I talked about quite a bit in my essay, is Guilty Crown feels surprisingly poignant in 2024. And even like that central theme of loneliness and isolation that you really see consistently with Shu. But you also see it in other people. Like, Inori doesn't feel like she has a lot of close connections. Guy makes it clear that he's like, I don't relate to people, and I try not to, as I can't let them know the burdens I'm really carrying. And you see it in, like, Sugumi for, like, 2 seconds when she talks about, oh yeah, I've always been lonely, but it's at least kind of something. You see it in Ayase, where she doesn't let people see how weak she is, and no, I have to be strong. I have to put up this front. I don't let people in. I only push people away. Daryl's entire story arc, if you can call it that, is about his loneliness and trying to make connections. In a world where we see all of these, like, relationship gurus and, like, podcasters and shit who are so popular because that's what they feed on, and people worship them, and they'll pay them, like, so much attention and so much money, and they'll, like, go to these camps and pay, like, $10,000 to be humiliated for the chance of finding a partner and finding some satisfaction and pride in themselves that will help them get the things they want. Yeah, a show about loneliness kind of hits different in 2024. It's some of the shit that works. But it's all in the execution. And Daryl's execution is fucking terrible. He doesn't like to touch people. And the scene where he is introduced to the main cast is a woman is, like, holding her child, and she's saying something about her husband. I don't remember exactly what it was. I was like, no, he's not sick. Please don't, like, execute him or whatever the fuck. She sees Daryl, runs up to him and, like, grabs his hand and is like, sir, please, please, please. And he freaks out that this woman, that this foreign object, this thing is trying to touch him and infect him. So he starts, like, beating, I think he starts, like, kicking her in the face. And as the kid is crying and screaming for its mom, he's just like, shut the fuck up. Mommy, mommy, wah, wah, wah. And then he like pulls out his gun. And he does it kind of like that. Like, it's so flamboyant. It's funny as hell. But it's like so ridiculously flamboyant. And then it, like off screen, like you see the bullets and shit. But it's like, all right, he got that family killed. What a great guy. And then in a later episode, is it episode 7, 8, 6? It's kind of somewhere in that range. You get this short little scene of him at his house with a birthday cake and no one around him. And I'm just kind of watching it thinking to myself, oh, I get it. I'm supposed to feel bad for him because his dad doesn't go to his birthday. He shot a fucking kid in the face after stomping on the kid's mother right in front of him. But his dad never went to his birthday party. You can't do that. Like, you can't make someone that fucking horrible and then say, yeah, but it's a little sad. It doesn't work. And literally, as I'm seeing the birthday thing, I'm reminded of Oni and Dragon's Ball PP and he didn't invite me to his birthday. You monster frisbee. The cake was delicious. Like, I'm literally thinking of that because it's exactly what's fucking happening. Dad didn't come to my birthday. Oh, what a monster. Yeah, so I had to shoot this woman in the fucking face. What's wrong with this shit? And then he kills his dad as part of a coup, and he's just like, you didn't come to my birthday, and then like fucking kills his dad. I'm like, I think I'm supposed to feel something here, but I don't. And then it's episode 13, it's the start of like the second half. I mean, technically it's episode 12, it's only 22 episodes. There's a weird 22 is a weird fucking number, but it means I get 2 less episodes of Guilty Crown I have to watch, so I guess it's okay. Here's the fucking problem. This show needed an epilogue. It doesn't have one. It does. It doesn't have one. It needed one. Like, oh my God, but I'm still on Daryl, but it's gonna transition into the fact that the show needed a fucking epilogue. Oh, we do have passion. We do. Merry Christmas, Guilty Crown. Oh boy, you've shown me the true meaning of the holiday. It's all about feeling and having emotion and being in touch with who you are inside, with your void, with your heart. And mine hates the way that you walk, the way that you talk, it hates the way that you dress. Oh, but anyways, in the second half, Daryl is in the school because they got this whole like Lord of the Flies shit going on. I kind of love it. I actually really like the idea here. Why are there no adults? They never go into why. Is it because it's a school? I mean, would have teachers and like a school nurse or like a janitor or some shit. If school was in session, which it wasn't, they would be there. If the school is just meant to be a shelter for people to go to nearby, adults would have gone too. Like, there's literally no reason for no adults to be there, and because there's no adults there, the students have to fend for themselves, which is what leads to the arc and is what makes it interesting. But because Guilty Crown is so underbaked and underdeveloped, and it feels like none of these ideas were really thought through, it's like, hey, what if we had this really cool idea for a set piece? Huh. But what about this? Because shouldn't someone have been there? Like, you ever watch pitch meetings? Which I know I've talked about them before. I really enjoy the pitch meeting series. With Ryan George, I think is his name. I feel really bad if I get that wrong. Where one of the things that sometimes like producer guy will say to scriptwriter guy's like, but hey, what about this? And then scriptwriter guy goes, okay, yeah, shut up. That's kind of how that felt. It's like, wait, why are there no adults there? Because I mean, it's a school. There would be people working there. And if you're using it as a shelter, people would have evacuated. So why didn't any of the students evacuate with their parents? Are there separate shelters for minors and adults? Because that's really, really, really fucking stupid. Okay, yeah, shut up. I just want to do this set piece. Okay, and again, it's fun, but it doesn't make any fucking sense. Anyways, Daryl is in the school for only one episode, by the way. He's just kind of there and has one interaction with Tsugumi where she's like, hey, help me move some boxes, and then gives him a candy apple. That's it. And after that, he's just kind of like, huh. Now anytime I see her, I hesitate. And I think I have to, like, it's making me question things. It's making me question, am I a terrible person? Yes. Like, should I do the things I do? Maybe I don't want to be Kill 'Em All Daryl anymore. Because a cat girl in a maid outfit asked you to do some manual labor and then gave you a tart treat? You shot a woman in the face after stomping on her and then had her kid executed. This is all it took to fix you? This isn't an arc, but they think it is. They act so much like this is this huge arc. Because here's the thing. An interaction can change someone. It can have an impact. You can meet someone that makes you think to yourself, I want to be a better person. Here's the problem. They don't interact again. He'll, see her, but they don't talk. They don't share their stories with each other, their mutual loneliness, something they could have bonded off of and gotten to know each other. Because here's the fucking thing. If you want to put Daryl in the school, let him stay in the school. Let him actually get to know these characters. Make him the mole for Sagai in the GHQ, like it's very clear he's supposed to be, and then they just drop it. Actually do that. And now that he has to interact with the enemy, they're not just the infection, and see them for the first time in his life as actual people. And possibly for the first time in his life, be treated as a fellow person. And develop a friendship, if not something deeper if they want to, with Tsugumi. You can make an arc. So that way, when he does go back to his other side, if he still does, and you can do that, his hesitation makes sense. Him being like, I don't want to hurt these people anymore, makes sense. Here, it's just, yeah, she was kind of cute, I guess. I gave him a candy apple, so there that goes. And then you get him fighting ISA in the climax in their mechs, and they frame it like, oh, it's this big climactic battle between these rivals. They fought maybe twice. It's not like Colin and Suzaku, who are constantly fighting and have an actual honest-to-God rivalry in Code Geass. It's just oh yeah, I think you took my mech once and I don't like you, and that's it. And then at the end, and this is a scene that has lived in my head rent-free for years. It's when his superior officer, the dude who looks kind of like Aizen, pushes Daryl into an elevator and tells him this is your chance for a new start. You don't have to be Kill 'Em All Daryl anymore. And that's the last time you see Daryl. And I just remember watching it for the first time and thinking, the show thinks he deserved this. I honestly think the show thinks they wrote a character arc and they wrote a successful redemption to the point where I, as the viewer, want to see him get his second chance at life away from the GHQ, without being raised into it, as you would assume, because his dad was a general or some shit. But they forgot to actually write and implement the story arc. Getting back to these two, they forgot to actually write and implement the romance, because I don't feel it. And I think a lot of that, from what I was saying earlier, is because I don't really see Inori as a person. She's just kind of there. Like, whenever she pulls out guns and starts doing shit, like, it's cool. I like watching her do things. Her voice is incredible. But she's not really a character. And then in the second half, with her starting to get possessed and have these moments where she's like, I'm not me anymore. I'm like, this is so interesting. I just wish you were more of a character so that I cared. And I swear this happened recently. And I don't remember what it was. I feel like there was a show I was watching or a game I was playing where there was like something incredibly similar where a character was starting to like lose themselves or get eroded or getting possessed. Like, I'm scared that I am losing myself. And I was thinking to myself, this would be such a great arc if you had a more established character, and I gave a shit about this, and I almost do. Like, on paper, it's great, but the execution is so weak, it doesn't matter, and it's bothering me. When did that happen? Was that something this year? I feel like it was something last year. I might just kind of have to go through, like, some lists. Like, it's bothering me, but I remember talking about that. I feel like it was an RPG. Was it Tales of the Abyss? I don't think so, because by the end of the game, I love the character arcs in Tales of the Abyss. So, like, it couldn't have been that. I don't think it's Arise either. Like, I have a lot of problems with Arise, but I don't think that was a character arc. Anyways, I know I say, like, I'm gonna move on. I'm still gonna keep thinking about it. I'm sorry. It's just how my brain works. I'm sorry. Let's try to move on. I wish they did more to establish her as a character, because it would make me more invested in the romance. It would make me more invested in her storyline in the second half. But I'm just not. It feels underbaked. Daryl's whole thing is underbaked. The members of Funeral Parlor are basically all underbaked. I don't know why any of them are part of this group. Now, if you've seen the show, you're probably thinking, like, it's because of how close they are to Guy. Like, Funeral Parlor is not, excuse me, like, they feel less like freedom fighters and more like a cult. And they just worship Guy. I'm like, okay, but why? Why did Tsugumi join Funeral Parlor? I can make an assumption where she has that 5 seconds of, I've always been alone. It's like, okay, I can assume. I guess that's the thing that's interesting about Guilty Crown. There's blanks that I genuinely feel like I can fill in, but it's less because I'm so interested and invested that I want to spend more time thinking about this show, and more like the show gives me almost nothing to work with, so I'm grasping at straws. Like, sure, I would probably guess Tsugumi was alone and they found her and she's like, oh, cool, friends. Like, this is all I got. And Ayase, given her personality, is like, I feel like this is the only way I can be useful. But the thing I wonder is, are you here because you genuinely hate the GHQ? Is it because it's like to put it in a few different ways. Is it because you distrust this authority figure? Is it because you have been personally wronged by that authority figure, like your family was killed by the antibodies or whatever the fuck? Is it because you know someone who was affected by the virus and you think they didn't do a good enough job? Is it because you have a close connection to Guy personally? It's like, Guy saved me and so I owe him. Is it because you had no real direction in life and thought, sure, I'll be a fucking terrorist? These could all be reasons. And you know what reasons do? They give motivation. You know what motivation does? It creates character. It's an aspect of character. We have none of it for any of them. At the end of episode 12, which is the whole backstory episode and all of its weird shit, after you see Lost Christmas, where Mana explodes and spreads a virus and Shu and Guy are at ground zero, and somehow neither of them are killed by it. Like, okay. As they are sitting there in the rubble of the church, Guy just says, I need to get stronger. Goodbye. And leaves. And it is the funniest fucking thing I've ever seen. You mean to tell me, after all the shit that just happened, after one of your two best childhood friends just tried to kill you, blew up, and started the apocalypse, your reaction to all of this is, I need to train. Bye, other best friend who just watched his fucking sister go nuclear, and I'm going to abandon you. You'll be fine. Again, I'm like, why? Why is that the first thing he thought of instead of, hey, I'm not going to leave you after this? Or it's like, all right, if I'm going to leave, like, do you want to come with me? Get stronger for what? You just saw her explode. You don't know that she's still alive, and if you do, I have no idea how. Like, it's the kind of thing where, again, they don't explain shit. And it's, without an explanation, the reaction feels so ludicrous and so inhuman, and I don't think it's supposed to, and it just kind of made me laugh. And during the last episode, so after Guy gets killed, and I guess somehow that takes care of Mana, and again, never explained, and Inori blooms, because, I don't know, there's even Adam, and that's the serpent. I guess she's a new tree or some shit. I don't fucking know. Shu starts getting encased in crystal because he's taking all of the sins of the world upon himself. Because, you know, Kogias, Lelouch did the same shit. Different way of doing it, but same shit. And then Inori cancels it out. Not by singing. I don't think that's what happened. It just kind of happened, and then she died. And again, it's not explained how or why any of this is happening. And then we get an epilogue. It's maybe 2.5 minutes of... Oh, by the way, I forgot about the actual funniest thing in the show, which is when Millie Ashford is using her void to make a shield and people are shooting at her, and as Shu is taking all the sins of the world upon himself to cleanse it because... I mean, that's not Christmas, that's more Easter, but, you know. As I wear this crown of thorns... her void disappears, which means she just gets shot. I'm sorry, it's really funny. There's this bit right before the epilogue where you see someone, like, with her, and I'm like, oh, I guess she survived. But then when you get the actual epilogue, which is, like, Shu's birthday, and him and his classmates are hanging out, she's not there. So I don't know if it's, like, she actually died, or she's alive but not invited, or she's alive and in prison, because, like most of the show, the epilogue doesn't explain anything. I don't even know how long it's been. I don't think they said. All you know is Segumi's a teacher, because, okay, I guess that was what her arc was about. Huh? Do we see Daryl to see, like, all right, he got a redemption that wasn't earned. What did he do with it? No, we have no idea. They never show it. Okay. Oh, Shu's blind. Why? Is that a thing that can happen when you absorb a lot of rock cancer and then get cured of it instantly? You lose your sight? This has never been explained in the show. What the fuck? And then it just ends with him sitting on a bench and listening to Inori's music. Which, to be fair, I don't mind that as the ending. If you are trying to go for, like, it is this very tragic romance, and the last thing he has of her is her music, is her voice. It's like, even if he can't see, he still has his hearing. Like, he can still hear her, so she's always with him. That's sweet. But again, why the fuck is he blind in the first place? Like, this doesn't make any sense. Wait, how the fuck did she undo all the crystal shit? It's not really explained. Wait, why did she die? It's not really explained. While I was watching, all I could think was, I don't care. Because these characters are so underdeveloped. And some of these, like, plot aspects feel so just not well thought out. It doesn't seem like the people writing the show, I don't want to say they didn't care, because I don't feel like that's the case. It feels like they cared a lot, but kind of in a way where it's like, we cared so much and got so into it, we kind of lost the plot a little bit. We kind of lost our way. It was like, well, I'm so excited to get to these parts of the story that I think are so cool. They forgot to make the path to these moments a lot more clear. And or it was like, this is such a cool idea. Kind of never really thought it all through. And that is the problem with Guilty Crown. Guilty Crown feels like it's a show that's all about wearing a crown of thorns. You take the sins of the world upon yourself, and you have to wear this crown and feel the guilt of everything. It's not a crown of thorns, and it's not a crown of gold. It's a crown of iron pyrite. It looks pretty at a distance, but it's gonna rust before it sparkles. That's what this is. This might sound weird to say, but I recommend watching it. I'm not gonna say it's good. I feel like I made that pretty clear. But I weirdly have a fun time watching it. Like, it's not as funny as The Room, but I enjoy it in a similar way that I enjoy The Room. It's so fascinating seeing what I think could have been genuinely good. And I say that about The Room as well. Like, I can see the genuine drama and tragedy of the scenario in front of me, but the execution is so weird. Especially with The Room. Like, The Room is just weird. Guilty Crown, it's just messy. It maybe could have been something great. But even with how messy it is, the music's amazing. I think the visuals are really cool. There are some really fun set pieces throughout. Even the final episode, the scene's a lot shorter than I thought it was. Has that scene where Mana's in her, like, black swan ballet dress and is dancing on a map of the world and then starts causing the virus wherever she lands. I thought the scene was longer, and I wish it was, because it's so weird, but it's a fun, like, there's still fun moments in the show. Personally, I just don't think it works. That's it. That's my Guilty Crown Christmas video. It's not Christmas Day, it is Christmas Eve. So I'll probably upload it today on Christmas Eve. I don't know, maybe I'll set it premiere. It's like, this will be Christmas Day. But I hope you are having a Merry Christmas Eve and a Merry Christmas. I hope you're having a great week. I know it's only Tuesday, but you can still have a good couple days. I hope you had a good weekend and all that stuff. Just this is the end of December. This is the end of 2024. It's weird, because I think, all right, let me do math in my head. 25 plus 6. Yeah, because I think New Year's Day is always the week after Christmas. This is literally the last, like, week of the year. I hope it's a good one. I hope the week ends on a high note. Hope the year ends on a high note. You ride that momentum all the way through 2025. If you do watch Guilty Crown, I hope you enjoy it. I mean, if you're able to get into the characters and story in a way that I didn't, I hope you do. I hope you have a good time with it. I think that's it. See you next year.